Welcome everyone to Ask the Experts. Today we're going to be talking about the latest developments in PCI Express. I'm Tim Messagey and I'm joined by my PCI Express expert, Lou Ternullo, who is the Senior Director of Product Management for Interface IP at Rambus. Welcome, Lou.
Hi, Tim and everybody. Pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Great to have you, Lou. Why don't we get it started with question number one, which is, we've been seeing this rapid evolution of the PCI Express specification, 32 gig transfers per second, moving up to 64, moving up to 128. What's behind that rapid evolution?
So yeah, Tim, you're right. The PCI Express specification is evolving quite quickly, and the primary application or application category, I guess I should say, and it's no surprise to the audience probably, is driven by AI, often heard as AI 2.0 or generative AI more specifically, and actually more broadly, large language models, or often referred to as LLM. Now, in addition to the application, there are some what I would call industry changes or evolutionary things that are going on in the industry that's also driving the PCI Express specification. And one in particular is disaggregated compute, or disaggregation of compute, storage, and other applications on the PCIe bus, which is moving apart, I guess, the connectivity of the endpoints to the CPU across servers or server racks. And the connectivity is then, across either copper cables or optical. And if you've seen the Gen 7 specifications also have an optical component for it. So that collectively is what's really driving the PCIe specification, moving forward.
Lou, you mentioned PCI Express 7. Can you tell us a little bit about what's new in the seventh generation of the PCI Express specification?
So what's new in PCI Express 7, predominantly, and everybody knows this as well, is the data rates doubling from Gen 6, going from 64 gigatransfers per second to 128 gigatransfers per second. And I also mentioned in my previous response about some of the trends to adopt optical from an interconnect perspective. However, there are a lot of things, at least at this stage of the spec, that we understand is essentially the same as in Gen 6. So in Gen 6, there was an update or required support for flip mode, 256-byte flip mode in the context of PAM4. Moving to Gen 7, PAM4 obviously remains the same. 256-byte flip mode is still contained there. And the interface between the controller and the PHY, referred to as the pipe, PIPE, is essentially the same today. Now, we all know, anybody that's following PCI Express specification knows that there are engineering change notices, ECNs, that happen, and we expect they'll happen along the way, and we'll work to support those. But that's pretty much a summary of what we're seeing today.
Lou, with applications like generative AI, you're moving enormous amounts of data. I know that securing that data is a growing concern. What protections does PCI Express 7 bring?
Thanks for the question, Tim. You're absolutely right. The data integrity and or protection of the data transmitting from server CPUs, hosts to endpoints or devices is absolutely critical. I mean, security in PCIe started in Gen 5 and evolved into Gen 6 and moving into Gen 7. Features such as the integrity data encryption, IDE, and trusted execution environment device interface security protocol, TDISP, are features that have been added to contain and protect the complete path of PCIe through the entire PCIe network, from the server host all the way down to the endpoint, whether it's going through switches or retimers or what have you. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, critical part of high-speed data communication. Protecting that high-speed data communication is a very integral part of the PCI specification.
Lou, we're starting to see the first product announcements for PCI Express 7. What has Rambus announced?
Rambus has announced a family of PCIe controllers, which include the base controller itself, either host or endpoint, an embedded switch, and retimer IP. These components comprise a PCIe system, which you could see on the slide, illustrating a CPU communicating to an embedded switch through a host controller, through the switch itself driving to endpoint devices, and or a retimer, which extends the reach of the PCIe bus to a further endpoint, an endpoint that's further away.
Great. Thank you, Lou. Hey, given that broad portfolio of solutions, give us the compelling reasons why customers should choose Rambus for their PCI 7 IP.
There are a number of reasons why customers should choose the Rambus PCIe 7 digital IP solution. I'm going to focus on four primarily. One is the experience, subject matter expertise, over 20 years of design experience, starting with the first PCIe specification almost 20 years ago. The second, as I explained through the portfolio of digital IP we have, it's very differentiated, complete end-to-end controller solution for the PCIe system, host controller, embedded switch, retimer, endpoint, complete solution. The other is the ability for PHY to support PHY integration with any third-party PHY that's pipe compliant in the market. Customers may have concerns not being a complete solution provider that we're providing digital IP. We have a vast amount of experience in integrating our controller products with third-party pipe compliant SerDes throughout the generations of the PCIe specification. Last but not least, of course, is an embedded debug logic analyzer tool, which we call Express Agent. This tool was developed in the context of our experience with our customers, engaging with them, enabling them not only in the integration side, but also in the bring up side. What are some of the challenges that we saw? So we developed this IP that will integrate with our controller and any third-party pipe compliant PCIe SerDes to give the customer a means to debug link traffic, packets, and so forth, and keep track of the packet information that's being transmitted. It really does provide a mechanism for a rapid, what I would call first-time link bring up.
Thank you, Lou. Hey, where can folks go if they want to learn more about Rambus's PCI Express solutions?
Yeah, so people can go to the Rambus website at www.rambus.com and check out all the information we have for PCIe and other products.
Great. Thank you, Lou. Thanks again for your time. And for everybody who's joined us here today, thank you for your time. We'll see you again on Ask the Experts real soon.
Thank you, everybody. Pleasure to have you.